Hey, good morning and happy Friday. I walked in the office today and I had a different thought in mind for what I was going to do in this video. But when I walked in, I got that photo that sits in my office. And I don't know how well you can see that. That is myself and my son, who at the time was about 20 months old, playing airplane. And in the picture you can see we are right in between the Twin Towers. That was the Sunday before 9/11. And when I saw that, it instantly reminded me of something I'd rather share with you today, and that really is mental toughness. Do you remember where you were on 9/11? I know exactly where I was. I was on stage doing a talk with someone that a family that I have the utmost respect for. Big shout out to the Rand family, Marcia, Greg, Matt, and Joe. Brilliant real estate people, brilliant people. And we're doing this event, and it is, it's kind of an awkward setting and everything that we were doing. And if you could imagine, 8:30 in the morning, it's early. We start, I think it was almost 8 o'clock in the morning. And we're doing a little Q&A. And I remember just saying to everybody, hey, questions. And this great gal from New York, Twom, that's what you call her, Twom. How do we control our emotions in spite of what's going on in the world? I'd like you to imagine that question that morning. I spoke for about 45 minutes just on mental toughness. And there was like 10 points that we talked about. And the two that I thought I would share with you today, because I think they're just extremely relevant to what's going on right now in your world, in my world, in all of our world. Number one was mental toughness is a choice. I said to her, mental toughness is a choice. It's that split second between stimulus and response. Stimulus, my tweet deck goes off, my phone rings, somebody cuts you off, you get a new email, someone says to you, how's the market? All of that is stimulus. They say that we get 3,000 advertisements being shouted at us every single day, probably more today online. That's all stimulus. But see, it's not the stimulus. Stimulus is everywhere. It's how you respond. That is the difference between mental toughness and someone that is just whipped around every day by everything happening in their world. You know me. I'm working on this new book, and one of the addictions I talk about is the addiction to drama. There are people that experience a little bit of stimulus. Someone calls and says, guess who's sleeping with who? Or, your deal's falling apart. Or, did you hear what happened to Joe? And they freak out. They love drama. And as I'm sharing this with the group, I'm saying mental toughness, it's a choice. It's that second between stimulus response. And you have to understand that all the power is in how you respond. Then I said the second point I want you to consider is mental toughness is determined by the pack you run in, by the people you choose to associate with. And we got into this dialogue. There's 350 agents inside the room. And then in that second, all of a sudden, Marcia comes walking up and she puts her hand over my microphone and she says, seminar's over. I'm like, well, what do you mean seminar's over? She's like, seminar's over. She said, and a tear is rolling down her eye. And she says, a plane just hit the World Trade Center. And I can remember in that second thinking, like Cessna, dink. She's like, 757. And then she immediately told me that, her daughter-in-law and her daughter-in-law-to-be, her daughter-in-law is pregnant. They both work in the towers. They're both taking the train in. The boys can't track them down the cell phone. She's freaking out. I say, how many of the people inside this room, have immediate friends and family, loved ones in the towers? She says 40 to 50 easily. I mean, you can imagine. What do you do in that moment? That is stimulus. You got 350 people inside a room. Plane just hit the World Trade Center. The owner of the company's walking up. She's crying. Her granddaughter, baby-to-be, her boys, her family, everything, her company, everything is at stake in that moment. What do you do? Now that's stimulus. What would you do? You know what I did? I went back to this. I sat there and thought to myself, I have a choice. I can explode, I can freak out, I can try and take care of myself, or I can be a leader. And I stood up in that moment and I said, all right, everybody, this is what happened. I don't remember the exact words, but it was basically huddle around the people that we need to huddle around. And let's focus on just for today, absolutely being selfless and being the solution. selfless and being the solution. Huddle around the people that need help. Huddle around the people that are concerned and worried and freaking out because, I mean, come on. In that moment, you can only imagine if you've got a loved one, a husband, a wife, a child, a best friend, a neighbor, whatever, someone in those towers. That's intense. And I can remember just having the 350 people, maybe there was 15 people in the room that were really freaking out. Everybody else was really calm and really understood that we had just talked about mental toughness, and this was the opportunity to prove that they are the kind of men and women that can do it. And you know what? I guess this video is just a big shout out to every one of you that were there that day, and every single person that made a difference that day. Every single person that stepped up, stood out, whether it was handing somebody water or helping somebody out of the way, or just was reaching out with phone calls to say, are you okay? And we're thinking about you. That's stimulus. That was intense. I look at this photo and say, I flew out that morning, the Monday before, my mom, my mother-in-law, my child, and my son, my wife, who's pregnant with my other son. Getting a little emotional on the video. Sorry, just keeping it real. I got a request for you. Here's my request. I'd like you to think about, who should you honor? Who should you honor today? Who should you thank today? Who should you reach out to today and say, you know what, I'm over it. We need to move forward. Life is way too short. If this day, 8 years ago, if it doesn't remind you of anything else, life can be really short, just like that. Honor someone today because in their presence, you're more mentally tough. Thank somebody today because they're the kind of person that has always been there by your side. Do that, and I'm going to, all right, here, I got my book. This is my old book. You know what? I talk about that experience, and I honor the Rands in this book. Okay, ready? You call someone today and you honor them and you thank them for being mentally tough, that you're better in their presence than you are alone, that because of them, they're the kind of person that makes you a bigger, better, stronger person. You email me at asktom@yourcoach.com. 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 You tell me who it was, you tell me the story, and I will pick 25 of those stories, and I'm going to send you a free book, and I'm going to send you a gift that I don't even know what it is yet. I'm just going to create something that's just so killer, you're going to love it. And you're going to love if you don't win the book and you don't get the thing, because you honored somebody who you're better in their presence, and you're better because they're in your life. And you know what? What a great way to start a Friday, or finish a Friday, or start your weekend. So thanks for letting me just keep it real. And remember, your strategy matters, and your passion rules always.